You're still alive.
Has asked real women to try our Go Sleeveless deodorant for 5 days. Everybody got 2 t-shirts. Which would they wear on day 5? Sleeveless. For visibly soft.
Cool, I have like 7 people. That's pretty awesome. I was expecting like 2, and both of them were going to be from both of my computers, but this is awesome. Give me a couple more minutes, and I've seen a couple minutes. I literally actually 2 minutes now. Or you know what? I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of the song, because this song is phenomenal. Hold on just a few minutes. Crew! Is this the crew I think? Or could I be mistaken? Oh well, we'll figure it out. Hello everybody, give me a couple minutes. position. Let me fix that. How does that sound? Is that a little bit better? Is that a little bit better? Apologies. A smidge? That's not what I'm hoping for. Let's see if I can... I thought I had this stuff settled in already. So how is the sound so far? Is it still low? Is it okay? Or was it just the music was too loud, or was it that my mic was too low? Still low. That's not what I want to hear. Change your volume, Turd Nation. Damn it. Okay. Give me just a moment. I'm actually going to readjust the mic, so you're going to hear some stuff, most likely. There we go. Let me take a quick look here. Oh, hold on just a minute. Dang, let's pump the brakes, man. There's only one of me, yo. Let's minimize that. Let's pull that up. So to be quite honest, are you seriously bailing on me, Mose? That's cool, because you know what? I have more than like 3 views, so that's phenomenal. I think that's going to be word of the day, actually. Get back out of here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining the show. I am Roger, also known as Dark Theory in the gaming community. Pardon my slight tardiness on the beginning of this episode. The problem... camera looks nice. Hey, it's a lot more high definition than I thought. And my hair is wet because I just showered. Because I'm totally pulling some other caster's idea of starting a show. So, thanks, Mose. Yes, thank you for saying that, Honeybeard. The best part about that bookshelf is that I made it along with my brother. And it was not very expensive. It was actually not cheap either, but with that being said, it was still pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and close that door because I forgot that it's open, so let me do that real fast. I'll still be talking, though, because I don't need to have the headset on while I step up. Look at my wrinkled, cool plaid shorts. Okay, so audio sounds still good? Good? Cool. Well, the first thing I want to go over today is a couple of announcements. First off, if you haven't already, please go to facebook.com/darktheorytv and like it, because I want a lot of people to like it so a lot of people can watch it and enjoy this wonderful newbie stuff that I will be chatting about for the rest of my at least couple months of StarCraft career or whatnot. The second thing is that if you have any games, comments, or feedback, please do not hesitate to go to darktheorytv or send the email to darktheorytv@gmail.com, and I promise I will respond to you. I haven't had a lot of people chat with me yet on that email address, so hopefully that will get busy soon. Another thing I would really like to talk about, which I think is pretty cool, I really enjoy this application, but if you have an iOS device, or I think Android has this same application, it is called the twitch.tv application, which is the website that you're viewing this wonderful webcast on. Now, the reason why I recommend you download it is because it gives you notifications of when your favorite people are streaming. So if you're a big fan of Marine King Prime, if you're a big fan of Stefano like I am, whenever they start streaming, it will be announced on that application, and you will know immediately to stop whatever you're doing and watch them. Namely, you will see that if you're following me on Twitch TV, which I recommend that you do, as soon as I log on, or go from offline to online, as you can tell, what will happen is it will shoot you a cool notification to your... Yeah, seriously, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself. The application for watching the videos is terrible. The only reason why I like the application is because it notifies me when my favorite players are playing, so keep that in mind. So yeah, go download it. Don't forget to follow me. I have a couple of follows already, so that's amazing. Hopefully I can get that up to, I don't know, a couple million over the next couple of years, but we'll see. And just to be fair, Mozilla, it is bad on the Droid application, but it's terrible on the Apple iOS device as well. I have it on my iPhone 5. They did an update recently to try to fix some issues, and it made it worse. But, okay, so there's that. And there goes the again. Let's try to keep that on task. And another quick question, just something to think about while I do this show. In some future episodes, I'm kind of interested in maybe doing some StarCraft 2 player bios, I guess you could. I mean, I can't do that for the rest of the career because there's only so many players, but there's quite a few of them, so I don't know if you guys are interested in me doing some player bios to go over, like, Destiny, who's a real famous, or who was a real StarCraft famous StarCraft player, Stefano, Marine King Prime, which I already talked about, and some other players. Just let me know, shoot me an email, and I will chat about that specific player if you're interested. Another thing I would like to go over is resources for StarCraft. I'm just going to go over one real quickly just due to time. But if we go to the wonderful website called teamliquid.net, you will be able to get pretty much all the StarCraft 2 news and information that you're interested in doing. And actually, I'm going to see if I can pull that up for us real quickly. See if I can do that. Hold on just a minute. Screen's going to go black, but bear with me. That's a bad screen region. This is the wonderful website of Team Liquid. Don't hesitate to check it out. It's actually really cool. Gives you a lot of information. I'm trying to make it larger, but it's not letting me make it larger. There we go. There we go, almost. Now, if we take a look on... If we scroll down a little bit, we look at live streams. This gives you all the names of the famous players that are actually streaming live right now. So if you want to steal a cool build, and we can go over builds a little bit later, you can go ahead and watch these players. And sometimes they actually will commentate on what they're doing, which is really cool. None of these people I really enjoy watching, which sounds kind of rude, but Liquid Hero is pretty good. Millennium 4GG is pretty good too. These other guys, I don't want to call them... They're definitely not no-names by any shape or form, but they're not people that I'm specifically interested in because, as Honeybeard knows, a lot of people that stream do not actually talk during their playthrough, which is a little bit annoying, but just to get back on task, here we go. Alright, so today we're going to go over some Terran information. Let me go back here real fast. There we go. The reason why I chose Terran for today is because a lot of people, when they first get into their StarCraft experience, that's the first... Yeah, that's true, Honeybeard, I agree with you. Their first experience with StarCraft is to play the campaign, and then they play the Terran, so they get comfortable playing as the Terran units. So when they eventually go into multiplayer, playing against computers or playing against human beings, they choose Terran most often when they start. It's later when they start getting defeated by Zergs or Protoss players that they actually decide to, maybe I should try this race that keeps beating me. And then over time they just get comfortable with the race and they stick with it, which is totally fine. There's no problem with that. But for the sake of those newbies out there who don't have a lot of experience with a lot of the races, I would like to start out with Terran. So let me get this game up. Oh, I'm not sure if I went over it yet, but we're going to have this episode probably in about 3 parts, hopefully not too long. The first one's going to be over buildings, the second is going to be over units of the Terran race, and the third one might actually be abilities. I might kind of cheat a little bit and squeeze that third part of abilities into the rest of it, just to keep things, I don't want to say organized, but just to give me something to talk about. Because if I say, this is a factory, and it builds units, that's kind of boring. So I might actually just incorporate the abilities parts into the other parts. Let me get on here real quickly. Oh no, that's the wrong StarCraft. Already had it open. Okay. So how are we doing, guys? How does everything look? It does build units. Everything's delightful. Okay, let me go over here real quick. Here we go. This is our wonderful... Oh, by the way, I'm going over Heart of the Swarm today, so for those of you who are looking for Wings of Liberty information, I do apologize, but as I go through this webisode, if you will, I will pretty much bring up the point if this unit isn't in Wings of Liberty. I'll let you know. If this specific ability or whatnot isn't in Wings of Liberty, I will let you know. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to start just a 1 versus 1 so I can start, not necessarily just to play against the computer, but just to show you the units, the builds, things like that. So let's go into matchmaking. Let's go into 2 versus 2. See that big, beautiful bronze? That's what happens when you lose a lot of games. Let's go ahead and make it Terran, 1 versus AI. Here we go. Terran, Zerg. I don't want to be Zerg, so let's play it. I know, I should stop losing. I keep losing to these silly cheeses. These silly plays. Thanks, I appreciate that. And for your information, it's Heart of the Swarm, so it's still in beta, so there's a lot of things that they're changing, a lot of imbalances that they're working on. But here, let's get started. We have the wonderful command center. And it's building SCVs. SCVs, as you guys already know. Oh, first off, how's the sound? Is it loud? Is it good? Is it bad? I imagine it sounds good since nobody's complaining about it. Oh, is the music that bad? Damn it. Okay, give me a second, guys. I thought I fixed this. I guess for some reason it's how is that? Is that a little bit better? Is that better, guys? Can you not hear me? Okay, cool. Alright, cool. Now I can actually begin. I thought I had that fixed. I apologize to do that to you guys. But, as you can see, we have the command sitting here. This is going to be the main place where you're going to be putting your minerals, all that fun stuff. I'm sure most of you know that, so there's not much to talk about. But there's actually this cool little thing I will chat about. It's these 5 little bars. They will actually allow your units to be loaded into your cool command center. See, I just put in all of my SCVs. This is particularly useful if you're getting attacked by a bunch of Zerglings and you want to spare some of your units. You can go ahead and just hit that wonderful load button and all of the, or at least up to 5 SCVs will jump in there. Something I'm going to build is a supply depot. This will allow you to increase your food up here, guys. You're going to need that so you can build a lot more units. If you keep this low, you're totally going to lose, even against a very easy computer. I'm going to go ahead and send a scout just to get you guys into a good habit. Now, I'm using something called hotkeys, but I don't want to go over too much of that today, because right now I just want to talk about the units and their abilities, and how you use them is up to you. So, I just built that supply depot. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and build is a barracks. This barracks is very fun. Let's let that build real quickly. I'm going to start building buildings a little bit before I start talking about them, just so by the time that they're done, I have something to talk about, essentially. So let's get started on that. It's going to be a little bit low with the beginning of the game. Here I'm building a refinery. This just allows you to get gas. One thing I do want to talk about is that in the refinery, you can have up to 3 units mining at it at one time. Anything more than that, and you're just wasting the SCV. Because if you take a look right here, and this is going to be actually on the patch, so I'm really happy that it shows this to you guys. Oh, they're scouting me. How cute is that? Oh no, did I put it on very hard? Because, oh, I did put it on very hard. I do need to play. I'm totally going to lose this. So, I'm going to let you watch me die for the time being. This barracks is going to allow you to build, of course, your units, but I want to go over a couple other buildings quick. Your tech lab, which will allow you to build additional units, such as the Marauder and the Ghost. Here, the reactor's really neat too. This will allow you to build 2 of these units at the same time from the same building, which is really cool. I'm going to go ahead and try to pop that up as soon as I get the money for it. And as soon as I die, I'm going to go ahead and start the game over because I'm terrible. But you know what? Just for the sake of time, I don't want to have to build all these things all over again. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to the other game. I apologize, guys. This is a bad settings error on my part. Let me fix that real quickly. Another loss, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to StarCraft. When you're not expecting it, it happens, I promise. Terran, that's why. I'm still getting used to the menus of Heart of the Swarm too, so don't hold that against me too much. It's under custom games, not matchmaking. Yes, that's absolutely right, Mosiel. Oops. Life. Yes. Mosiel, thank you for taking over while I'm fixing this real fast. Constantly minerals, stuff like marauders. Yes. If you want to figure out how much each unit costs, all you have to do is just hover the mouse over the unit and it gives you a specific price. It just shows you how much gas and how much minerals you can have. The game limits you as far as how much gas you can get in the beginning, so that sort of forces you to expand. I mean, you can build a lot of early game units, but that's not really going to help out very much. That's cool. I guess while we have time, since I went over some of the basic stuff, you're really going to want to get used to using something called hotkeys. If you notice on my cool little panel right there, next to all the buildings and units, it actually has a letter next to it. If I just press that letter on the keyboard, I will be able to use that, build that unit or use that ability. Like earlier when I was talking about load, all I have to do is hit O, and it automatically loads all of the SCVs that are in there. If I want to go ahead and just take them all out, just hit D, and all of those units will come right back out. So let's go ahead and build an SCV real quickly. I'm also using the shift key a lot, which is something I really don't want you to... I mean, it's really good to use later on. You will be using a lot of that, but what it does is it allows you to queue up actions by your SCV. I'll probably go over that in just a second as I get more money and it lets me. And I'm building a refinery right now just so that when my barracks comes up I'll have a little bit extra money so that I can build all that extra stuff. I almost have enough money, so I'm going to go ahead and get my SCV ready to build a barracks. Let's go ahead and get 3 guys on there. Oop, I got an extra guy. If you take a look, workers 3 of 3, that's perfect. Workers 7 of 24. That means you don't want to have anything over 24 SCVs building or stealing money from these mineral patches. Otherwise, it's just not making any sense. You have useless SCVs, and the last thing you want in StarCraft is to have useless SCVs. Here we go, building another one. I'm going to go ahead and build another refinery so I can get gas a little bit better. You know what, I'm going to cancel that and show you a little bit about this shift key. So I have this SCV selected, and I want to build a refinery, but what a lot of Terrans do is that they will build a building, and then the SCV will just stay there for a long time. Just like that. We really don't want that, because that's an idle SCV. He could be making money rather than just sitting around. So what you need to do as a Terran, or what I recommend doing, is after you build something, like let's build another barracks. Oh, this is an example. We want him to do something, and we're only going to use hotkeys. We're not going to click anything, because that's slow. We don't want to play slow. And F1's really good too if you want to select a unit that is not being utilized. But we can hit B, and then B again for barracks. Now I have that SCV working on that. If I hold down the shift key, which I'm holding down right now, and I right click, you see that cool little rally point? That little line is called a rally point. What that does is it tells my SCV, once he's done building this barracks, to go straight back to mining. That's a really good habit to get into, especially in the early game. But here, I'm going to go back to this. This is another neat trick that most Terran units do, or Terran buildings do, excuse me, is you can lift up the barracks and drop it right there. Or anywhere for that matter. This is really helpful if you have like a crapload of units coming by and just attacking you, but they're only ground units, so that you can just literally lift up your base and leave. That's pretty convenient. So the next thing we're going to do is build a tech lab. I'll show you what the tech lab does in a second. Now that we have the second barracks done, I'm going to go ahead and build this wonderful reactor, and then we're going to see what that does. I'm going to build a couple of factories. Oops. Now if you want to build an advanced building, just pay attention to that. Just select the V, and then F for factory, and there we go. And just like I did before, I was holding down shift, and now they're going to go right back to mining. Here, I'm going to go ahead and build a marine. And here is something called a queue. If you have a little bit of extra money like I do, which is really bad, you shouldn't have this much extra money at 6 minutes, you can keep building a bunch of marines. Okay? But we're about to finish with one. And if you look, now I can build a marauder. Since I have this tech lab, I can build this marauder. And I have that marine chasing down that guy. Here, like I was telling you before, this reactor allows me to build 2 of the same unit. But look, I'm supply blocked. Remember like what I was saying before? I need to build supply depots to fix that. So I'm going to build a couple there.
Not enough minerals.
And now I'm broke. And this is a cool little marauder guy. I'll go over him in the next segment. Here, I can go ahead and press build another tech lab, and then build another reactor. Now you'll know that the main Terran buildings that build units all have the ability to build reactors and tech labs. And the same rule is going to apply to all of them. If you build a tech lab, you can build more units. If you build a reactor, you can build more. Or you can build 2 basic units. Like right here, since I have the tech lab, I can actually build the siege tank now, which is pretty cool. I'm going to go back to the command center because I built something called the orbital command, which is a very important building. In order to build it, I believe you have to press B at the command center, and in order to get up to this tech, you have to have a barracks. So now that I have an orbital command, this gives my main building, my main base, a couple different options. Here, I can actually call down a mule, which is this cool guy right here. As you can see, he has a little timer on top of him. He doesn't last forever, but what he does is he mines minerals super duper fast, okay, which is really cool. Here, I can call down extra supplies. If you ever were just like me at that point and you really need to build more units quick, but you don't want to build supplies, you can just hold down or press the X button, and it will allow you to, I'll do it right now. Pressing the X button, selecting that, and now that went up. It went from whatever to 67. It went up 8. So it was at 59, now it's at 67. It saves room and it allows you to build units a lot faster. Here, I'm going to build a couple of units just to prevent from any onslaught of attacks. Let's go ahead and build that guy, build that guy. And now that we've built the factory, we can build a couple more things. I'm going to pull some SCVs over here. Let's go to advanced buildings, and now I'm going to build a starport right here and a starport right there. And there's a little fight going on, nothing too fancy. Let's go back here. Here, I'm going to build an armory. An armory is pretty cool because it allows you to do upgrades. And speaking of that, if we go to basic building, we're going to have the ability to build an engineering bay. Let's build that right quick. I'm going to show you another building that your command center can turn into. We'll give that a couple moments to work.
Not enough minerals.
Ooh, here we go. And like before, building a tech lab here, building a reactor there. Yes, Heart of the Storm does have experience. What happens is Blizzard added a cool little thing to your account so that whenever you play and you build units and you kill units, you get experience points for them. So what that does is you get decals, things like that. It doesn't change the in-game experience at all, but it allows you to build cool decals, things like that.
Complete.
And I have about all the buildings, or actually almost all the buildings. Let's go back to advanced building. Let's build that Ghost Academy. So here, just as a review, we have the command center, supply depots to build supply, refineries to get gas, barracks to build basic marines, pretty much bio units. When I say bio units, I mean anything that's like a human. Marines, Reapers, Marauders, Ghosts, things like that. Factory builds ground machines or ground units that aren't really human, that are machines. We have the Hellion, we have mines, we have siege tanks, we have Hellbats, and we have Thors. I'm just giving you a general idea what those are, but I'm mech. Thank you, Mozio, for that. It is mech. Here we have Starport. We have the Air Terran, which is the Vikings, just any air units that the Terran have, and also the Battle Cruiser. And let's go back to our buildings that upgrade. Here we have the Engineering Bay. This will allow you to upgrade the units from the barracks, such as your Marine, Reapers, Marauders, Ghosts. If we take a look here, upgrade infantry weapons. Infantry are the units from your barracks. You can upgrade the weapons. You can upgrade the armor. If we take a look at this right here, there's also another defensive building called a turret. I'm going to build right here. Let's build another one over here, just for giggles. Once these finished building, you can see the picture right here. This will shoot air units only, and I noticed, Honeybeard, that you had built a few of those, which isn't bad. It'll help against a lot of air harassment. This will increase the range of those turrets by 1. So this is particularly helpful if there's a unit that gets a little bit too close. You'll be able to hit him at a little bit further of a range. The Research Neosteel frame will allow you to increase the number of units you can have inside of a bunker. I kind of skipped this part because this is, I feel like, almost more of like a unit, but it is a building, so I will go over that right now. Let's move these guys. B, and then U for the bunker. Let's just build that right there. Give that a couple seconds to finish up. And then here, this upgrades the armor of your structures by 2, which is really helpful for when enemies come and attack and try to destroy your bunkers or your starports or whatnot. It increases the armor so the buildings essentially last longer. Here I have my other command center, so let's go ahead and lift it up. Let's start up a second base right here, and then we're going to build another building off of that in just a second. Here's the Reaper doing his thing. There's another really neat little building called a sensor tower, which I really think is underused. You'll see some pros use it pretty often. I don't say pretty often, but you'll see some pros use it occasionally, but not very often. If we go over here, I'm going to build it, and once it's done, that's when I'm going to show you what it's going to do. Here we go, now that this landed. Before, we built the orbital command, which is this guy right here that does all that fancy stuff. Now, it does have energy, so you are limited as far as how much stuff you can do. You know what, I'm going to go back to that because I feel like I skipped that. But here, we can call down a mule, and you see that little 50 that was up there? But it's not really like, it looks like minerals, but it's not. That's actually energy. So if we look down here, you have 200 energy. This takes 50 energy, this takes 50 energy, this takes 50 energy. Another thing we can do with this orbital command is the scan, which is incredibly important for scouting. So I can actually click on the mini-map, and I will be able to get a visual representation of exactly what's going down in that area. Look, I'm being attacked, and I can scan here at their base. And if we look at our mini-map, we can see all the alarms going off. And here, they're attacking us. I'll let you watch this little fight. Ooh. That was pretty cool. Let's go back over here. I'm going to build some stuff, so hopefully they don't get too excited. Here, I'm going to go ahead and build a planetary fortress. Let's select that. Scan, a lot of people feel like Azimba. I mean, to balance it out, what Blizzard did is, remember like I was telling you how you have energy on this building? It's kind of interesting to think about it, and this is a really deep part of StarCraft, but if you think about it, you can use a scan anywhere. I scanned all these wonderful places, which is pretty cool. It costed 50 energy. Now think about it like this. Instead of, you know, I'm actually going to pause the game. F10, let's hit F2. Okay. Now what I did was I had that orbital command and I used the scan using 50 energy. Okay. Now think about it. If I didn't use that scan, what else could I have done with that energy? I could have, yes, it does replenish naturally. It does over time. I don't know the time ratio that it does for how much it does replenish, but it does replenish naturally by itself. Probably around a couple minutes is when it'll max out again. But when we use that scan, we use the 50 energy. Now, like those other abilities that we had, such as the Mule, which mines minerals extremely quickly, and we also have the Supply Depot. The Supply Depot one, I don't think is ever used by pros. I've rarely seen it get used by them. I think it would be only used as like an emergency to perhaps, he has a bigger army than me and I'm supply blocked, so let's build a lot more supply depots really, really quickly. That's what that call down supply depot will do. Laters Mo's. Essentially what you're doing when you use that scan is you're taking money away, which seems really strange, but if you think about it, if you didn't use that scan, you could have built a mule. That mule mines like 300-400 minerals a minute. So that one little scan, you could have actually used towards that mule. So even though you don't see an obvious cost when you're using that scan, it's taking away from your potential money. That's a little bit more advanced, and you understand that like the same rule applies to SCVs. If somebody kills one SCV, it doesn't seem like it makes that much of a difference because it only costs 50 minerals. But if that SCV had survived and you actually moved him to your minerals and things like that and had he been mining for the rest of the game, that's hundreds and hundreds of minerals that are pretty much lost over time. But that's pretty much the extent of that. Let's go back to here. So we have pretty much all the buildings. Let me go ahead and make sure we have, let's go over the basic buildings. We went over the command center, we went over the refinery, we went over the supply depot, we went over the barracks, we went over the engineering bay. Let's go back to the bunker. We didn't go over too much on that one. This bunker will allow you to load infantry units from the barracks and also SCVs. I'll show you that real quickly. Just like the command center does. He can go inside there and he can go inside there. If you take a look, he's right here. Now there's this cool upgrade that will allow you to have up to 2 units inside of, I'm sorry, 2 more units, because right now it can only hold 4, but if you upgrade it, you'll see 2 extra slots, so you can have 6. That's particularly helpful when you're trying to put Marauders in there, because Marauders are big guys, let's be honest. They're not as small as Marines are. If you put them in there, it takes up 2 slots. So that's always something to consider. Let's go back over here, and let's go back to this cool sensor tower. If we take a look, we see that little ring on the mini-map. We couldn't tell too much right now because we're not being attacked, but what happens is if an enemy gets within that circle, it will show little exclamation marks showing that an enemy is near and that an enemy is coming. So that's a really cool alarm to pay attention to, and another reason why you should look at your mini-map. Let's look at advanced. Did not. Oh, I already built an armory. Let's destroy that one. Build. Oops. VC. This is the fusion core. This will allow you to build battle cruisers from your starport right here. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and lift everything. And let's move everything. I want to go ahead and turn this into a little bit more of a presentation style thing for the next segment. Here, I think, is the last building we're going to go over. This is the Planetary Fortress. This is a really powerful building. I'm actually going to show you exactly what it's doing to my units. If we take a look, this damage does 40 damage, and this damage is splash damage, so if I attack that guy, see, that hurts a lot, but it's actually killing him. Had these been enemy units, the splash damage would have probably hurt these guys as well. So this is really powerful if you want to keep this base up, you want to make your base survive, that's exactly what you're going to want to do. Another thing that's really cool that SCVs can do something called repair right here, okay? As you can see, this has actually been damaged quite a bit. It's at 976 of 1500. So let's go ahead, click repair, or you know what, going back to our hotkeys, let's hit repair and select that. And look, the HP is going up. The SCV is repairing it. If I send more SCVs to repair it, this number, it actually gets healed a lot faster. Take care, gentlemen. As you can see, I did heal up pretty quickly. And now I'm getting attacked.
Mineral field depleted.
There we go. I'm I'm going to go ahead and drop these right there.
Mineral field depleted.
And I'm rebuilding those cool little reactors that I had earlier. Now what you can do is I can actually lift up these buildings again, and I can just move them back to these. These buildings do not lift up. There's a few Terran buildings that don't lift up at all. Like this one doesn't lift up, the fusion core doesn't lift up, the army doesn't lift up. This can actually lift up the orbital command and the command center, which the command center, of course, is the building right prior to that one. That can lift up as well. This here cannot. That's a big negative of having the planetary fortress, is that it cannot lift up. Okay? So let's build that again. And right now I'm just preparing to talk a little bit about the units. Here we go. This has gone way longer than I anticipated once again, but the next one will be pretty quick because I'm just going to talk a little bit about each unit, not too much. Let me make sure I got all the buildings. Command Center, Starport Factory, Ghost. Command Center, oh yeah, I already got that. I'm really happy that you actually brought that up, Honeybeard, because that is considered a cheese, which is a really interesting idea. Because what some people do is they'll build a command center around these areas near their base, lift it up, and then drop it close to their base, and then build a planetary fortress, and have a bunch of SCVs there to repair it as well. Some people have tried that, and they've actually been pretty successful with that for future reference. But anyway, that's as far as the buildings goes. Hopefully you learned a little bit about each building. I know this probably isn't for the people who've played StarCraft many a time before. But for people who haven't, maybe there was something you didn't know about one of these buildings. So I'm going to go ahead and go into segment 2. Give me a couple minutes. I'm going to go ahead and give up this game. Very easy, beat me. So hopefully you learned a little bit, especially for the people who aren't as familiar with StarCraft. I know for some of the people that have seen a lot of this, then it doesn't really make much sense. I know Mosey, that's why he bailed, is because he already knows all this, which is perfectly fine. There's no problem with that. Give me about 3 minutes, and I'm going to get started on the second segment, which should only be about, hopefully, 20 minutes. Hopefully shorter than that, because I'm just going to go over some basic units. Or I'm going to go over the units of the Terran. But there you go. I'm going to go ahead and put on some music. And there we go. Give me a couple minutes, guys. Okay, we're back. Can everybody hear me? I just did the unmute thing. Okay. Cool. Alright, so the first episode is very informational. I apologize, like I said, for had you already known a lot of that stuff. The second episode, I do want to go over the units and some abilities. I'm going to try to do it pretty quickly, though, and the reason why is because I can go, as you've already noticed, into tons and tons of analysis on every which way you can use this and that, and the armor units and the unarmored units and blah, 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 blah. And the fact of the matter is, I really want you to get very, like, basic information and then realize that you can do whatever you want with it. There's something in StarCraft programming called standard play. I think I went over this a little bit the last episode, where people have a specific build that's really safe and prevents them from losing early, and they just sort of build off of that. So what you'll see is in pro games, they'll do a lot of the same things. Like if it's a Protoss versus Zerg, the Zerg has a standard build against Protoss, and the Protoss has a standard build against Zerg, and then they just fight. So you can pretty much say what's going to happen almost. I mean, like, for the casters who've been doing this since the beginning of the first StarCraft, or I'm sorry, since StarCraft 2, they know like exactly how the fight's going to go almost, not almost every time, but a lot of times, especially the more experienced ones. And I really want to stray away from that as a player and as somebody who's speaking to people who are really new to StarCraft. I think it's important to learn standard play, but to realize that you can still win games without using standard play. Because there's this really cool player named Gosu User, who actually is, I don't want to say he's unknown, he's definitely known, but Gosu was a Gosu User was he was a very good player, first off. He's been to a few tournaments, won a couple tournaments, and there's other players like this guy named MVP, who at the time was probably arguably the best Terran in the world. And Gosu User is a Zerg, by the way. So they have a matchup, MVP versus Gosu User, and they're thinking, okay, Gosu User might get one game because MVP is like the best Terran like ever, essentially. So they play, and they play 3 games, and Gosu User wins every single one of them, all 3 games. And it wasn't like really close fights each time. Gosu User completely like annihilated the best Terran in the world, 3 games straight, okay? And he did this not using standard play at all. What he did is he made weird new strategies that people hadn't like used before or even didn't think to use, things like that. And I thought that was fantastic. It's 3 of the best games or 3 of the games that 3 of the best games I have ever seen. They were just delightful. But hopefully, hopefully you'll play StarCraft, you'll have fun either doing standard play or doing your own play, but just realize that StarCraft in many ways is a game of chess. And in chess, even though a lot of the a lot of the pieces do similar things, you can make them work together in completely unique ways. Just wanted you guys to know that. So, yeah, expect the unexpected is a good way to look at it. If I can find those games, I do know that Day 9 did cast them. If I can find them, I will get a link to them, and I will post them somewhere. I'll do that as homework for myself. If not, just email me in case I don't by next Monday. And by the way, I'm thinking next Monday is going to be the next show because I'm working on Wednesday. So I think Monday sounds good. But let me go ahead and get into this one real fast. Like I said, I'm going to make it real short just because I don't want to go too in-depth with it. Is that not it? Okay, I'm going to go send these guys just to go attack that area because I want to get rid of these units. I'm going to send all my SCVs to go mine stuff and do stuff. Let's go back over here and let's drop all of them, send them over there. And I'm going to sort of start from scratch as far as the units. You already know about the SCV, you know what it does. It can repair units and it builds buildings and gets minerals. Another cool thing about the SCV I didn't talk about last time is that any unit that is mech, such as a siege tank, can also be repaired. So keep that in mind. Let me go back over here, and I won't pay too much attention to the fight because I'm just not worried about it. Now the first buildings, the early game units you're going to find are going to be here at the barracks, okay? I'm actually gonna
Unacceptable landing zone.
switch this up a bit. And as you can see, these cool little buildings, the tech lab and the reactor, can be used and reused by different buildings. So I think this isn't standard, actually, but you're going to get a lot of early games from here. Mid-game units are going to start from here, and sometimes early games come from, early game consists of the few of the units from here. And then the starport is going to be not always late game, but it's generally mid-game to late game. And sometimes you can actually pull it as an early game as a cheese, but I won't get into that. So here you have Marines. You have a crap load of Marines that a lot of people try to build, like in the last game that we saw, or not the last game, the last episode where we saw San Diego play against this one guy. Well, he used a lot of Marines, and those Marines are really good. And I'm getting attacked. Go fight! Go fight! And I have to move my stuff, which is unfortunate. Sorry for that mild interruption. I should plan better for that. Here we go. So, I have these Marines being built. Another thing I can build is a Marauder.
Base is under attack.
Let's see if I can repair some stuff.
Our SCVs are under attack.
I don't care about that. So the Marine here, like I said, a lot of people can build them really early, and they can build a lot of them. They can also do an ability called STIM, which is right here. You can research it right here at the tech lab attached to your barracks. The Research Combat Shield will allow these units to change their HP from 45 to 55, which is pretty neat. Marines gain plus 10 life. Stim Pack, what that allows you to do is your Marines pretty much take a drug and does 10 damage, but they shoot really quickly and they move really, really fast. I'm actually going to research that. Maybe by the time that's done, I can go over it. Let's build some more Marines. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and build a Ghost and a Reaper. A Reaper's a really, really fast unit. They made some changes on this one compared to Wings of Liberty. It's a little bit faster than it was in Wings of Liberty, but here you can just build it just by the barracks by itself. Before, you would have to have a tech lab. So let's let those finish. I'm going to go ahead and build some other stuff while I'm waiting for that.
Base is under attack.
And let's go keep this really bad, these bad two Ravens at bay. Stimpack does have a disadvantage. It does hurt the units by 10, but there's another way we can counteract that. And now I'm just getting a little frustrated because these guys are actually really good at harassing, and in Wings of Liberty they were not good at harassing. Keep everything organized over here.
Your forces are under attack. Base is under attack.
These guys are actually being really persistence annoying me. That's okay, maybe you can actually see me play a game. How interesting would that be, huh?
Base is under attack.
I have the money for it, why not?
Add-on complete.
So when I practiced this previously, very easy was essentially very easy.
Base.
And was not giving me as much of a hassle. And here we have Stim Pack. If we take a look, I'm actually going to show it to you a little bit. And I hit T, and they move faster. They lose a little bit of health. But they actually shoot really quickly too. But it's temporary. It's not. It only lasts for a few seconds. Okay, this is a really important thing when you see a lot of pro players use this. They always use Stim. They always research Stim. So that's pretty much it for the Marine. The Marauder also has this ability. He shoots slower, but he does a lot of damage, or a lot more damage than the Marine does with just that. That's the Marine, the Marauder. Let's build a Reaper real quickly. We have an enemy unit right there, but that's fine. Let's make sure I can build everything first. I need an attached tech lab. I have that. And I need to build a fusion thing again.
Insufficient SP gas. Add-on complete.
Okay. So I have my tanks here. I have my Marines here. Hopefully this should last a little bit longer. This is a little bit funny that I'm being attacked so much. Okay, so this is the Reaper. This guy's really fast. This guy has a really cool ability where you see this cliff, he says, whatever cliff, I jump over you. This is a really good unit to use for scouting. I'm actually going to start using it when I play as Terran because I've been using SCVs and they're slow. Here, I can actually move over terrain very easily using this guy. His attack isn't very powerful, but in numbers he can be pretty annoying. But you don't see that happen too often because they die so quickly. Here we go. We can see he's getting attacked a little bit. And he also has a cool little ability, and he did not have this ability in Wings of Liberty, by the way, but he regenerates life very fast outside of combat. As you can see, his life increase. There we go. But as soon as he shoots or gets shot at, he no longer heals. And he just died, which is okay. So that's pretty much it for the... Oh, actually, there's a ghost I can build too. I'm going to go ahead and build a Ghost Academy real quickly. Oops.
What's going on? Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, a Ghost is a really fun unit. I'm going to go back to him because he's used in the later game. He's not used very often in the early game. As you can see, the Raven... Let's go fight them real quick. Let's stim again. Okay. Now here you have the Hellion, which is this guy right here. He shoots in a line just like that, and had these been enemy units, these all would have been damaged pretty much. He does a lot of damage against these types of units. Now he does have an option to build, or not to build, but to become a Hellbat, which is slower. He's not quite as fast, and he can go back and forth between what he turns into. So he's fast like that, turns into a Hellbat, he's pretty slow. And if we take a look at his firing range, it looks a little bit different. It's a lot wider. He's slower, but it's a lot wider of an attack. Here we have the Widowmine, which is really annoying. This is a new unit to Heart of the Swarm, and by the way, the Hellbat here, you cannot do this in Wings of Liberty. This is a Heart of the Swarm unit. And here I'm going to go ahead and research that. This is also another neat thing for the Marauder specifically. It's called concussive shells. whenever he attacks a unit, he was walking normally at normal speeds, but what happens, any unit that this guy shoots starts to walk slower. His speed drops significantly. So if somebody's running away and you hit a Marauder, or you use a Marauder to hit him with, and of course the Marauder has concussive shells as a passive ability, then it will slow him down pretty significantly, and you can catch up to him. Here I have a lot more Hellions. And then the tank, the very, very powerful tank. This tank does a lot of damage, and in splash damage. I'm using my own units as bait, essentially. But what can happen is... Oh, I can do that. He does a lot of splash damage. And as you can tell, he actually did splash damage to his own units. That's another negative effect of the siege tank. But these guys are really hard to destroy, especially with these types of units, since they have to get close. But keep in mind, if the siege tank is super close, or if they're really close to the siege tank, he can't actually attack it. It has to be at somewhat of a distance in order for that to work. So if you have a bunch of people attacking you, like zealots for instance, those little guys with little, almost like swords as hands, if they come after your siege tank and your tank is sieged like this, it will not be able to attack. Whereas if it's in this mode, splash damage cannot hurt himself because he can't shoot at that close enough of a range. But when he's not in siege mode, he's just like this. And he shoots a lot faster, but his damage goes down significantly. 15 damage, 25 versus armored. 35 damage, 50 versus armored. That's a lot of damage. Okay. Now, where did I put my... Do I have a... No, I did not build it yet, so I'm building those right now. The Widow Mine is really interesting. I'm going to get to him as soon as he finishes building. And meanwhile, I'm going to... Oh, I can't build a door from there. I'll get to that in a minute. I'm going to build some more units just in case they decide to attack me some more. Oh, it looks like that's going to be the case. And the Raven's using a really cool missile attack that I'll go over in just a bit. Now this is a Widow Mine. This is really annoying if you're not the Terran. What this does, right now it doesn't do anything, because he's just sort of walking around. He can't attack, he can't do anything, but if I burrow him, I can actually... He digs in the ground like that, takes a couple seconds for that to happen, and whenever a unit walks by within that little radius, he can actually activate and attack it. I'm going to leave that right there and hope that some enemy units will come and attack it, because I can't actually have him attack my guy, but a little thing pops out and goes and attacks. Keep in mind, this is only a Heart of the Swarm unit, so if you're just playing Wings of Liberty, you're not going to get any benefit out of this, unfortunately. But let me have these guys go back to work. Okay. So we went over the Siege Tank, the Hellbat, and now the Thor. I'm going to build a Thor. While the Thor is building, I'm going to go over the Ghost. This is a very special unit. Usually used in the late game versus Protoss, because he's what's called a caster unit. Every race has specific units called caster units that they're not really strong in upfront attacks, but they can cast spells. If you're familiar with like Warcraft 3, the older RTS game, or even probably the original StarCraft, then you know what a caster unit is. Let me see another example of a caster unit. Thor is definitely not a caster unit. Let me go ahead and start building some of these.
Insufficient Vespene gas.
Here's the Thor. This guy's extremely beefy, but as you can see, he's extremely slow too. But his damage is right there is not high, but this unit is special because he can attack ground and air units, which is pretty good. So if we have a flock of like Mutalisks or something like that, or even those Ravens that have been bugging us, he will be able to destroy them. Just getting these prepped, if you will. Let's get these guys out of here. let's move this guy over here. So yeah, he attacks ground and air. You'll notice that he has two weapons right here, damage 30. This is against ground units, so he should do around 30 damage and 2 shots. When we saw a little Widow Mine activate. What's cool about the Widow Mines is that they have an infinite amount of Widow Mines, okay? What happens is that this pops up, and you can see the little cooldown. It takes about 40 seconds for it to be able to recharge another mine. They're also cloaked, so if the enemy comes by, you will not be able to, or the enemy will not be able to see him like that until it pops up and destroys them. Which is convenient if you're the Terran. If you're not the Terran, then it sucks. But back to the Thor. He does a lot of damage. He's a slow unit. He attacks ground and air, which is pretty good. And you can see that right there. And that Raven was able to see it because it is called a detector. And I'll let you know more about that once I build my Raven. So against the air, he does. Against the ground he does 30 damage. And as you can see, it says attacks is 2. That's really important because even though you look at him and it says 30 damage, he shoots twice. So since he shoots twice, that's actually 60 damage. So that's a lot of damage. Okay? Here, the javelin missiles, which are right there. Let's get him out of there real quickly. Let's move these guys back here right quick, so my siege tank can do its job. And he has a pretty high amount of range too, in case you didn't notice. And then he died, which isn't a problem. Because that's pretty much all there is to know about him right now. So we have the Thor, we went over those guys. Now here we're going to go over some of our starport units. The Viking also have the special ability to turn into a ground unit and attack. He can also go up and fly around, which makes him extremely mobile and useful against those armies that are really slow, because he can move around quite a bit. He's a basic unit. He can be built from the starport by itself, with a tech lab, or with a reactor. Here's a dropship. This is a really important unit. If we go to our organic units, it actually starts to heal them, just like an SCV can repair. This is actually, the Hellbat is actually considered an organic unit, a biological unit, excuse me. And he also heals, of course, the Reaper and the Ghost. He can also pick them up, which is really good if you're trying to get inside of their base real quickly. Healing, as we just talked about. And then ignite afterburners. As you can see, the speed of the dropship isn't too fast, but if we press B to activate the ignite afterburners, it moves a lot faster. This is really helpful if you want to get in, destroy some units, and get out. Okay? Let's move them all the way back over here. And here's to load units, here's to drop units. Here we go, there's the Thor. Oops. And the Banshee. This Banshee isn't obviously an air unit, but it can only attack ground units. It does not have the ability to attack air units. So I'm going to go ahead and send him over here to attack that. It's actually a pretty high damage unit. It shoots twice, so it does about 24 damage with each shot. It can also cloak, so this is really helpful when units need to pretty much just be invisible, because just like the Widow Mine, it's unseen by the enemy unless they have a detector. I'm researching something. And here's the battle cruiser. This is a very late game unit, and it's so expensive to build, not a lot of pros make them, but in small numbers mixed with the right amount of other units, this can be quite powerful. And as you can see, it has like a constant stream of damage, which is pretty cool. It also has a high amount of armor. It has 3 armor, and then you can upgrade that. So units that do small amounts of damage, such as the Ghost, do very, very little damage, especially when you do that armor upgrade. And now I'm going to go back to the Ghost. This is, like I said, that caster unit. Here, it has the ability to snipe, which will actually do extra damage towards psionic units, and psionic units is just a couple of Protoss units, so I don't want to get too much into that. But if we press R, Oh, it can only do organic. It can't do mechanical units either. That's another important thing. So if I want to snipe this organic unit, or the biological unit, I can snipe him. And kill him just like that. And I actually, there's no cooldown on this, so if I use it, I can use it again right after. Just like that. But it does cost energy. It does take 25 energy, but as you can see, he does have a lot of it. He does have a 2,000 energy or so. Here we go. He also has something called... Oops. Pop. Like I said, he can cloak. He also has the ability to nuke. So... I wish I would have done a nuke. I'm actually going to do it right now just because they're fun. I'm going to give that a couple seconds. This is a really important attack that does a lot of damage. The problem is that it takes a lot of food to do it. It should take, I believe, 6 to 8. Actually, unless it doesn't take any. Unless that was a change. But I'll figure it out in a minute. There's the slow guy. Now back to this battlecruiser, it also has the ability to use a model cannon. It blasts the target with a devastating plasma cannon. It causes 300 damage, so if it wants to attack a unit, say like this, or like this, it has a good range, and it's just one big blast that goes to destroy that unit. And you can research that back at the fusion core, which is right here. Oh, you know what? I think I skipped the fusion core. Anyway, the fusion core just lets you know how to, or it just allows you to build battle cruisers. So there's that, and I could show you that, but it's just a big blast. I think if as soon as that gets done, I'll probably do it. But let's go back to this guy. Now that he has that ability, I can go ahead and cloak him by pressing C, and he's invisible. EMP round is really cool because if I EMP a unit that has energy... Oh no, I ran out of energy. Decloak. If I EMP a unit that has energy, it loses that energy, okay? If it loses that energy, then it can't use that Yamato cannon like I'm about to do on this little tank. And that's pretty much what happens. Oh wow, that was really cool. There's actually a body inside that now. That's kind of gross. Let's see that again. Okay, that one didn't have it, which is okay. Anyway, so let's pretend that we're doing it to that guy. You see his energy drop like that? That's really helpful against units that have a lot of high energy against other caster units. So if another ghost did this to this ghost, he would lose his energy. This also is a really, really powerful unit against the Protoss. The Protoss will actually... All Protoss units have shield, and they have armor. Or they have their health, essentially. Now their shield regenerates, but if their shield is hit by this EMP pulse, it actually kills their shields so that they're able to take damage a lot sooner. I definitely recommend if you play against the Protoss just to experiment that with a little bit. Play against very easy just so you see what that can do. So there's that one. I have these guys. We went over the Banshee, which also has the ability to cloak. The dropship, which can pick up units and drop them off. We went over the buildings. We went over that. This ghost building will allow you to increase the energy of ghosts, increase the starting energy of ghosts by 25. So as soon as a ghost is spawned, I guess you could say, it has more energy so it can cloak sooner or things like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to nuke them. I'm going to see what kind of stuff they have right now. Oops. And we're just about done, and they're attacking me, and that's okay.
Sounds like a plan.
I'm gonna go and cloak.
Confirmed.
Oh man.
Nothing to
And
it.
I'm gonna nuke them.
Paint target.
And there is a countdown to that. And right now he doesn't see me, but if I run out of energy, I'll stop cloaking and he'll be able to attack. Or if he has a... Oh, it's about to land.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of damage. And that's also pretty awesome. Didn't destroy this, but it did do a lot of damage to it. And as you can see, all those SCVs died, which is pretty cool.
You know what I like.
And this Raven has the ability to see me,
Out with it.
so I'm getting out of there.
Deploying.
And the Raven's the last thing I'm going to go over. The Raven is also a caster unit. Where did I put it? Oh no, I hope I didn't kill it. Oh no, I didn't. Here we go. Again, this is a caster unit, so it has energy. What I can do is I can throw down a turret, and this turret can attack air units or ground units. It doesn't do a lot of damage, about 8 damage, but it's good because oh yeah, it keeps the enemy busy. It's pretty much like just extra attack damage, which is pretty helpful in a not necessarily a large engagement, but a small one. What a lot of people like to do is get a Raven, put it next to an enemy mineral line, and drop some turrets. Another thing it can do is a defense drone. I have to wait for that one to recharge. Oh man, did I really get a spammer? That's cool. Another cool thing that the Raven does is the Seeker Missile. If I select R and I select this unit, it actually pulls out a little bomb. This bomb locks on in about 3 to 5 seconds and goes and attacks that unit with a lot of power. Anything around it also gets damaged, including your own unit, so be careful with that. Okay? Another thing you can do is a point defense drone, which is this right here. And as soon as it charges up, I'm gonna probably show. I can't really show you what it does because nobody's attacking me appropriately. But any enemy that has a and this is pretty. Man, it's hard to explain. Like, it's hard to explain this sort of stuff, especially with a game that's going on for this long, and this cast is once again going a lot longer than I expected. But let's pretend we're getting shot at with a bunch of stalkers. If I throw that right there, and these stalkers start shooting at me, this actually absorbs the hits. It absorbs a lot of the hits. It actually takes energy to absorb it. Each shot consumes 10 energy. So if the enemy came in and a Marauder, for example, came in and tried to shoot me, this would suck up that Marauder bullet, and my units wouldn't get hurt. Okay, but it can only take so many shots before it gets destroyed. So keep that in mind too. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much the basics of all this. Once again, I went over a lot longer than I thought, and I probably overanalyzed it a lot more than I thought. But is there any questions? Was anybody curious about anything about this? Other than it being super boring and informational? This is like that really crappy class in high school or even like college that you go to just for like attendance. And you don't even have to. Here we go. There we go. I mean, I guess that's as far as those buildings go. This is a terrible game because I kept getting interrupted by the very easy computer. But no worries. That's as far as that go, guys. Let me go ahead and surrender that game. Sorry it was so boring. I know it was really monotone today, but there wasn't a lot of content associated with strategy or anything like that. With analysis, I feel like I can do a little bit more, but question... Well, each race has their own specific types of, I guess you could say, military units. A big advantage you're going to have with Terran is their ability to lift up their buildings and just be able to move. Sometimes some people take advantage of this, some people don't. They can't have more units because remember, well, yes and no. If you have a whole lot of like battle cruisers, then no, they're not technically going to have more number of units. But the units they do have are going to be more powerful. Because remember, each unit takes a specific amount of supply. Marines take 1 supply. Marauders take 2 supply. Battlecruisers take 6 supply. So you can only build so many mixture of those units. And remember, you're supply capped at 200. So anything, you can't go over 200 at all. That's perfect, Zors. Thank you very much. Grassel, I appreciate that. It's not, like I said, I just not that they have more units or more military. Every race has a lot of military units. They should have about the same. They should have about the same each one. Next time I'm going to go over probably Zerg because that's the expansion that's coming out real soon, which would be cool. And that one will probably be a little more organized too. Was there any other questions? Was there anything else we were curious about? Nay. Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. I went over my announcements in the very beginning. Remember, send me your games to dark30tv@gmail.com. And Honeybeard, I did not forget that game you sent me. I did look at it. I did take a lot of notes on it. I'm probably going to go over that one Monday as well. I might do it sooner, but if I do, I'll give you at least 24-hour notice. But there we go. Hopefully, the next coming episodes won't be as boring. So once again, I apologize for that, but I hope you learned at least a little bit. Hope you had a little bit of fun. Sorry this was a little content heavy, but I hope it helped you out a little bit too. Other than that, peace out, everybody. Thank you for watching. And I actually have like 5 viewers right now, and like I think only one of them is one of my computers, so that's super cool. I was only expecting like 2 people this time, so that's awesome. But let me look at the chat real fast, make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope. So I guess one thing I do want to chat, not want to chat about, but just go over real quickly. I'm sorry, I'm gonna backtrack even though I'm saying goodbye. Terran units have biological units and mech units. Generally, when people create their army, they choose a lot of mech and no bio, or a little bit of, or a lot of bio and mix and match, things like that. What I really recommend doing is when you play a game, play against very easy so you can actually read what each unit does. Like when you have the mouse hovering over each unit, that'll actually give you some neat information. If you hover over like the main screen on the bottom, then it'll give you like armor information, it'll give you weapon information, and just play around. Just play against very easy and just change unit compositions just to see how things work out. Just try working with that. But like I said, on Monday I think I'm going to go over your game, Honeybeard, and show you some pointers, some things I actually liked about your play and some things that we have opportunities to work with. But once again, and yes, bio can be healed. That's true. But another chat for another day. But there you go. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you had at least some amount of fun. But if not, come back again anyway and just chat with me and goof around. Bye, guys. Ooh, I'm not on a break. And it's not starting shortly. Let's go back to that.